Beats by Dallas, make it hurt.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Commercial Real Estate, the Black Community Edition. I'm your humble host, Dominic Green, Managing Partner of Tenneco Commercial Real Estate Services in Dallas. Wanted to kind of quick talk about our continued conversation about retail. I'm actually in Houston for family reasons, but while I'm here, I'm also, still looking for opportunity as far as affordable housing and whatnot. But I want to also talk about a little bit further in the different markets when we're talking about retail. I want to say last week. Just pull this out of here real quick. Switch to mode. All right. So right now I'm actually in Spring, going down one of the busiest streets, 1960. Trying to slow down just a little bit. Kind of see here. All right, so if you can't see it, so a couple of things to point out. First and foremost, in Houston, man, it's not necessarily a uniform of zoning in a sense. So you kind of see you got retail pretty much everywhere, a mixture in between that, different types of tenants. But here's the key thing that you always want to look for when you're trying to get an idea just off bat without even looking at any of the data. You're trying to get an idea of how much disposable income's in the area, right? So if you see it there, I'm coming up on it. Sherwin-Williams, right? What does Sherwin-Williams do? Provide paint. What is the paint usually for? Housing, right? You gotta have money. There's one of their competitors, Benjamin Moore. So somebody around here is spending money painting their house, painting the interior. Somebody's renovating something, right? Now, you're also gonna see in between all that stuff that looks like the retailer, like here we go, a rent-a-center, right? Bargain furniture, Dollar Tree. So somewhere in here, there's also a combination of people who have not as much as disposable income. So they're probably making somewhere between $30,000-$40,000 a year, and maybe just themselves. And then you see that thrift. Saw that going there. This is Northgate Shopping Center. They converted it to, looks like, a storage facility, but now it's vacant. They pulled out. Apartment complex. Collision and repair. See, the trick about Houston, man, is because you don't have, like I said, there's no uniformity in it. But look, somebody's building new homes. It used to be a condo, but now they're turning it into homes. Looking at other retail, how much stuff is vacant. Because this goes also to the conversation we're talking about when we're looking at certain retail projects. If you have a tremendous amount of retail in the area, that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to limit, there's only so many tenants that can satisfy a population, right? There's only so many needs of a given area, depending on how many people are in that density of the area. That can be serviced by every single retailer, right? Right? So there's a net tech. There's was looking at property. So you can have an oversaturation of retail in a given area, right? So that makes it even more, could put up a red flag. This is a business park. This is a little bit different. So these are people who are small businesses, stuff like this. Most people will pass by and not look at it, but it looks pretty full. Your small businesses and whatnot working in there. But what I was saying is, kind of should put your antennas up, right? Within a 1 mile radius, how much retail is there versus how many people are actually there? And then also you're looking at the disposable income, right? Because remember I told you, real estate is not only local, it's about the people. So the types of services, how often is that being redundant? And, typically we'll pull one of the ESSA reports and find out what's, look at the gap retail analysis to see what's not being served and what is being oversaturated, right? Because there's a certain amount of, if you buy a certain property that's oversaturated with a certain type of tenant, because, sometimes a lot of these landlords, man, and it gets to a point to where, hey, we're just going to lease to anybody, So what that also got to put the onus on you is, okay, will you be able to release to a certain type of tenant to keep a certain dynamic at your particular shopping center? Because the shopping centers are about energy. And like I said, preferably, I would only look at stuff that's an out parcel, a single tenant, and an out parcel in the sense that there is a large anchor, grocery, Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that, that's going to draw, and your tenants can be able to feed off of that. Now, that's not to say you can't make money on stuff like this. I mean, somebody owns it, somebody's making money, right? Right? So is this an affordability issue? I mean, you're always going to have stuff that's always going to be needed. You see a lot of it already. Nails, haircuts, food, insurance, a real estate brokerage, something to that effect. Now you have this is a single tenant net lease deal, right? A CVS. First and foremost, how is CVS doing as far as the business, right? What type of business model does CVS have, right? Because you want to know that just for in general purposes, that single tenant net lease tenant, what's their business and how are they serving the community, right? And is that something that is a ongoing demand or something that fluctuates during the season, or whatnot? And then, you're also looking at the real estate. Now, this is at a stoplight, so you got a hard corner, all right? This is Kirkendall. I don't know how many vehicles but they on Kirkendall, but it's a lot, as you can see. But that's also a certain time of day I'm here, and it's Cypress Wood, which leads into a community, all right? Because also when you think about these single tenant net lease deals, not to sidetrack us, you always got to think about who's my replacement tenant. And that building there is probably about 10,000, if not 15,000 square feet, all right? And they are going to be on a 20, 25-year lease, and then they have some special stuff where they have rent holidays that you got to read the lease for, all kinds of stuff. So just pay attention to that. All right. So now you got a school, cool. So that means you got people that are committed to living in a certain area, and there's enough demand, enough people here that have roots that they will support some type of retail. Now, what that is, we gotta dig deeper. But again, the first thing I see now is pawn shops. What does that say? What type of demographic is typically at a pawn shop? A shopping center here, where they're just trying to fill it up. School, reception hall, and there's a 24-hour fitness. But look, Kroger's right across the street. So this will be where I'd be looking for something that's an out parcel. Traffic drivers, fitness, grocery store. Do you want to be in food? Single tenant, Popeyes. Now, when you're looking at that, up across the street, Starbucks. You know, Starbucks is very particular about where they're at, so they're on the prime and prime corners. So this is also that conversation we had. Typically on your corners are going to be either some type of fast food because they can afford the rent, and also because they want the visibility. The closer you are, the better opportunities. So you're also going to see a bank, which you see right there, Bank of America. Now, here are the out parcels I'm talking about. There may be 3 or 4 tenants. All right, if you can see it, it's on Gluetta. T-Mobile, Domino's, Buffalo Wild Wings, and a Smoothie King. All right, credit, T-Mobile, Domino's, credit, Buffalo Wild Wings, credit, Smoothie King. Probably a franchise with how many franchisees. Same thing with Domino's. Could be the same thing. Right? But notice, look. I'm on the corner. Traffic generators. And guess who's right behind us? McDonald's. Now, we all know, if you don't know, you should know, that McDonald's is a real estate company. And typically, McDonald's, they do all that research to find the best real estate locations to place their business. So what does that tell you? Big money's already been spent, right? They're building homes over there. I'm about to turn around though. But big money's already been spent. Because that's one thing I learned. People that got bigger pockets than me, they can afford to take more risks than I can. So this is like this entrance into a neighborhood. Homes look a little bit newer because so much traffic. I'm gonna turn around that actual light. Neighborhood. So it's a grocery store. Typically grocery stores in about a 5-mile radius, 3-5-mile radius is where all the prime grocers are. If you're like a Walmart supercenter, it could be larger. It just depends on where they're actually located, because people will drive 10 miles from where they are to a Walmart, Target. But if it's smaller like that, your Kroger's and stuff like that, it's going to be more local. And then what kind of Kroger's is the Kroger Marketplace, which is their newer, they're going to have fresher foods and all that good stuff. But keeping what I was talking about, and we were talking about, just talking about retail. Another thing is, if you typically see a CVS, their competitor is not too far away, Walgreens, right? So this is kind of like what we're talking about, the synergy thing. Typically when you see a Walgreens, you see a CVS, the same thing where you see a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, or one of their other competitors nearby, right? And they can coexist because slightly different demographic targets, or just to be that second option, right? But I know from a standpoint, CVS has been investing in more of the medical. So you saw their minute clinics and stuff like that. Because again, they're making money selling generic medications, getting them filled, slight compounding, all that good stuff. And then, they're kind of also have convenience. So they got your water, some chips and stuff like that. And then what's always big, cosmetics. So that quick pop in, convenience, you kind of get it all there, right? So, but then I look in here, okay, I got a tire shop, gas station. I'm not familiar with that gas station. It's been a minute since I've been in Houston anyway. All right, trampoline park, that means the anchor that used to be there is gone, so they have to backfill with trampoline park. And that's another thing. A lot of times with these large shopping centers, what you have to be mindful of is that it's not a whole lot of, a big pool, a vast pool of tenants to backfill those properties. All right. So that could leave you in a bit of trouble. So a lot of times when we deal with certain tenants to help them lease space, and they have these caveats in there, where there's clauses in there that basically states that if the anchor leaves, we have the ability to cancel our lease, reduce our rent until it's backfilled within a certain amount of time. All right. And it's called a co-tenancy clause. So that's also some due diligence you have to look into regarding also the REAs, because there could be restrictions on who you can put in when the original developer set up the anchor parcel. A lot of times their big plan is to get the anchor in there, lease it, make the money off the smaller guys in the smaller spaces, create the out parcels as well, and then eventually sell off the out parcels, keep the main anchor location for themselves, and recoup their money through the recoup their money from selling out the out parcels, right? It's the selling pieces strategy. And then you got houses there. So typically, like in Houston, man, I would look for clusters. Where is there a good cluster of the type of demographic that I'm looking for in regards to the type of tenant, and go from there and dig in deeper. Again, figuring out, is there too much retail in the area? Because that is an issue. I mean, we already know that the United States of America has way more retail than any other country per person. And so the same thing can happen in your major cities as well, right? Especially in Houston, man, where they're pro-development. Hey, there's land, space. You want to build it, fine. Because obviously at the end of the day, they got to collect these taxes. That's what they're in it for, right? The city makes the money off the property taxes. And property taxes on commercial real estate property is high. Especially as the complaint that you hear out here from all the landlords where they are protesting. They're protesting to their taxes, like on schedule every year. So what I'm doing inside here is just going back. Okay. So when I'm talking about the competitors, O'Reilly's, AutoZone. If you ever see O'Reilly's, not too far is going to be an AutoZone, and then the Advanced Auto Parts. But Advanced Auto Parts doesn't usually pick the best real estate locations. But that's single tenant. As long as they're cars, it's going to be a need for service. That also tells you a little bit about the demographic too, right? What do I mean by that? So people who work on their cars are not necessarily buying new cars. They're saving money, or they don't necessarily have enough money to just get a new car. So they're servicing it themselves, and they can't afford to actually go to an auto shop in some instances. So they're doing it themselves to save on the labor, because we all know when it comes to repairing your vehicle, what's the most expensive thing? It's not the parts, it is the labor. But so here it is. There it is. McDonald's, right there. People at McDonald's. And this is Kirkendall Center. So actually, I'm gonna look at that when I get back to the crib, to find out who owns that, out of curiosity. Even though, yes, I'm still looking at my goal to have that platform to start off with, multifamily, affordable housing, workforce housing, with the thesis of affordability, because we need it. We all know it. Incomes aren't going up that fast. If you currently renting, you know that your rents went up. And if you're trying to buy a house, you know it's highly competitive and prices are going up too. And that's probably going to be a trend for a while, because supply and demand. It's not enough supply. It's a hell of a lot of demand. And if you can't, you got to live somewhere. So if you can't find a place to buy, you got to find somewhere to rent. All right, so Kirkendall Center. I'm looked that up. And there it is. So that's the 24-hour fitness. And there's the grocery store. That's gonna be generated. We already seen those people that live here. We already know there's a school not too far away. Again, you see a facility like this, depending on when they bought it, they still making some money. They probably own it outright. But those particular tenants went out of it, so you got to rethink the property. And sometimes there's opportunities where you just go in and redevelop a property, right? Have a whole different kind of concept. Because in my opinion, that's the whole thing with power centers and discount centers and all that. It's just a way to have a different concept, another theme for the area, or a theme for your center. And you attract the similar tenants, which attract the type of customers, and so on and so on. Because commercial real estate follows rooftops. Alright, so we're going back here. And always, as you see, whenever you're looking at acquiring something, if you can, I suggest drive in the area. That way you just kind of get a feel of like what type of people are there, apartments, what other type of retailers are in the area, especially if you're in a place like Houston. Like I said, I was talking about, what do you normally? Insurance, nails, spa, and some type of convenience store, food, barber, right? Those people are going to need places all day long. Furniture can be hit or miss depending on what it is. So you definitely have to investigate and see what they're doing. And also, if you can, see if, and that more than likely will happen when you get on the contract, see if in the leases, if you can't get them ahead of time, if there's a requirement for the tenant to report their financials and sales data. Sometimes it is. On small stuff like this, I doubt it. But some on the larger stuff, it's in there. You just have to read it. And then try to get that data so you can get a better idea if there's a good healthy rent to ratio. Because if somebody's paying too much rent compared to what they're selling, with the numbers they're bringing in as far as revenue, then they won't be in business for long. And that's the key difference in retail, right? Like I said, discount, food, smoke, cleaners, and something housing related, right? Common thing. So, like I said, just wanted to check in real quick. Like, I'm still out here looking. I wanted to drive a couple of locations. I wanted to get an idea of some of the property managers on the type of properties I'm looking to acquire, to see how they run them, and see if it's something I need to have a further conversation with them about. If not, I'd probably mark them off my list. Well, I'll still have the conversation, but just get a better idea of what's going on. Because at the end of the day, it also could be the ownership is undercapitalized, and if you got an issue with that, then you can't put too much money in the property manager for that. But nonetheless, like I said, that's kind of what I'm building towards first, is you're creating your pyramid of wealth, starting with the highest demand, housing, and then we'll go up a level, look at retail, stuff that I'm particularly aware of and I have knowledge and experience with. And then from there, flex space, office, industrial park, hotels, which would be more kind of like resorts in my opinion, leisure travel. As although, business travel was coming up, but I've kind of seen and been listening to that it is kind of slowed down a little bit. The whole Delta variant, but nonetheless, People are still making money. There's still opportunity money made. There's a whole bunch of money on the sidelines waiting. And again, what are my big guys doing? All right, people that have way more money than you. Where are they making their investments? Because again, the money that they have comes from, endowments, pension funds, people that have obligations that they need to pay their people for the stuff that they are required to pay and obligated themselves to pay, incentivized to pay in order to keep their workers. So they got to put somewhere where their money can grow and can be safe, or as safe as possible. So that's just another tidbit as well. All right. So, as always, like I said, this platform for us to share our experience, share our knowledge, collaborate. We don't necessarily have to be competitors. Working together is always better if we can. If there's common ground, common mission, common goals. Let's continue to have a conversation. Let's continue to share our experience, share our knowledge, reach out to one another, use this. Like I said, it's hopefully the platform to do it. As always, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment. If there's anything particular you guys want to talk about in commercial real estate, let's do it. I don't know everything. I know a little bit about a lot. I do this full time every day because, in my opinion, it's one of the things that you have to do. Can't be a side hustle, can't be a part-time thing. If you want to be great at your craft, you got to dedicate the time and hours, have the conversation, or leverage somebody else's time, knowledge, so that way you can make the best decisions, and with the goal of trying not to lose money. Right? What does Warren Buffett say? Rule number 1: don't lose money. Rule number 2: rule number 1. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Let's continue to have a conversation. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, give a thumbs up for the algorithm so it can get spread. If somebody else that is interested, have a discussion about it, share with them. Let's continue also conversation on the Facebook group. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making us better. Breadcrumbs have been left. People have experience and knowledge. I share what I have, what I know. There's no need to hoard information, right? Most of the stuff, in my opinion, is already out there. It's about how you use it. But there are nuances and stuff that you just won't be able to read in the book, read online. It's where it comes from either talking to somebody that's been doing it, has done it, or they're on one of their podcasts and going in real depth in the question is there. So, again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Sorry to make it long. I'm out here in Houston doing a couple of things, but most importantly, for family. So thank you guys. Thank you again for the support. Like, share, subscribe. Let's continue to talk commercial real estate, invest in black people. Until next time, happy investing. Deuces.
These my dollars make it hurt.